Night falls. Darkness spreads its cloak across the dome of the sky. And outside our window, the unknown stands, shrouded by the gloom, looking in at the world we've created. Temporary comfort, false security, open portals and closed eyes. Locks on the doors of our home, yes, but no locks on the doors of our minds. Does our enemy sit with us around the fire? How often have we heard his voice and leaned in to listen? How often have we looked into his face and smiled? Hello, freaks and freethinkers. This is Radio Ghost Town, and I'm your host, Deep Amber, coming to you from the relative safety of an undisclosed location. Tonight, we continue our ongoing series, The Serpent Whispers, investigating and exposing the greatest conspiracy in the history of the world. Tell me, gentle listeners, who do you trust? You extend them an open invitation to your home. You leave them unsupervised with your children. Their opinions are ushered into the deepest recesses of your soul, and their thoughts tint the window through which you see the world. Do you know the answer? I do. The serpent, naturally. Now, don't tune out and don't call in to argue just yet. Let me make my case. First, for those of you who haven't seen last week's episode, it's in the archive, so go get caught up and then come right back. But for the lazy or forgetful among us, I'll summarize. We broke the grand conspiracy's master plan down to its most basic elements. The three notes of the devil's chord. 1, the foundational lie from which all lesser lies grow. 2, its artful cloak of pageantry and charade. And 3, its ultimate end goal. But perhaps most importantly, we identified the driving force behind it all. The enemy of mankind, the OG liar and murderer himself, Satan. Now, for the purpose of our discussion, Satan, the devil, Lucifer are all understood as synonyms, and I'll mostly refer to him as the serpent, but if you prefer some different term, anything from Old Scratch to the Illuminati, just feel free to whisper it under your breath as you follow along. Now, where were we? Ah, yes. Who do you trust? The simple, sobering truth of the matter is that we have all, at some point before in our lives, invited the serpent into our souls. As we've discussed before, he has many disguises, and in the cult of personality that is his worldwide following, he has many, many sales representatives whom he manipulates like meat puppets, pulling their strings and putting words in their mouths. Entertaining one or all of them is, by default, entertaining him. The most influential division of the serpent sales force is doubtlessly the entertainers. And if you think there's no sinister motives driving Hollywood, the music industry, and members of their ilk, then you poor thing. I hope we've gotten to you in time. Sit very still. Panic will only make it worse. Let Deep Amber give you a dose or two of truth, and maybe, just maybe, we can save your troubled soul. But wait, I hear you saying, how do you know the forces controlling the entertainment industry are really just Satan himself? Well, because I've been paying attention. Hopefully, after this episode, you will be too. You see, everything we experience, the information and entertainment we're spoon-fed, is laced with our immortal enemy's personal brand of poison. In every truth they tell us, there is a little kernel of lie. And if we're going to outwit them, we must not be fooled. Always ask yourself, why? Always look for the lie. It's like watching a magic act. You tell yourself it's a trick, and you keep telling yourself it's a trick, and you never stop telling yourself it's a trick until you figure it out. So when presented with any information from any source that's not the infallible word of God, tell yourself you're being lied to. Keep telling yourself you're being lied to, and never stop telling yourself you're being lied to until you figure out exactly where and how and why they want you to think a certain way. Why do they want you to embrace certain philosophies? Why is it so darned important to them that we all do yoga and eat bugs? You know what? That is actually a good example. Let's run with that. Yoga is a religious practice. It's deeply religious, and no matter what you've been told, it is inextricably rooted in ancient paganism. Now, do your own research. I don't have time to cover it all today, but if you're really interested, drop me a line and maybe we'll put together a special episode. For now, let's just look at one facet of yoga. The fact is that each of the poses is an act of worship to a different polytheistic deity. Now, that should be enough to send any serious Jesus freak running in the opposite direction. And honestly, it should be enough to turn off the atheists, secular humanists, and Darwinists as well. Religion? Worship? Ew. Imagine if we asked them to unironically engage in an act of worship to Jehovah, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Oh, the outrage. And yet, yoga is everywhere. It's positively represented and therefore encouraged by movies, television, commercials, kids shows, and music videos. You're being programmed to accept it. More than that, you're being programmed to desire it. I'll bet at some point you've even said to yourself, gee, I should really give that yoga stuff a try. Weird, isn't it? I was watching a cartoon the other day, and don't look at me like that, it was for research. The main character sat down in the lotus position and meditated, then promptly had an out-of-body experience, floating through dimensions, touched with true peace, esoteric wisdom, and the light of the universe. Now, what if instead of meditating, that character knelt down and said a simple prayer in the name of Jesus? Would that episode have been aired? Ever? Would it even have been made? Of course not. And if you're pretending it would, then you're farther gone than I thought. The practice of biblical Christianity is taboo, but Eastern mysticism is given elaborately animated montages in the most popular children's programming. It's ubiquitous. And there is a reason. I dare you to take a step back and see how many times the concept of yoga is shoehorned into your consciousness in the course of a week. Why? That's the point of today's lesson. Not the answer. We'll get to that soon, I promise. But first, we have to learn to ask the question, why? Travis is signaling that we have a caller. Hello, this is Deep Amber, and you're live on Radio Ghost Town. What can I call you?
Hey, Deep Amber. My name is Ned, and I have a question.
Go ahead, Ned. I'll do my best to answer.
Well, I was asking myself, why? Like you said. And what if the answer is because it's good for you, you know, dude? I mean, that's what everyone says about yoga. I mean, it really does give you inner peace.
Well, Ned, I think we've already spent too much time talking about yoga specifically, but if my freaks and free thinkers out there will remember we're looking at it as an example of a far bigger problem, I think I can answer your question.
Dude, okay. But honestly, I think you're just being paranoid. No offense.
No offense taken, Ned. Now, let's take a step back and look at the big picture. They, whoever they are obviously desperate for us to zone out and align our chakras. I mean, that's why they've been force-feeding us the concept for decades now. Is that fair to say?
I mean, I guess so. I know I've been hearing good things about it since I was just a little kid on the surfboard.
Right. Well, now we have to ask ourselves, why?
Well, because not everyone is evil, and some of them really want to help us achieve our inner peace, you know?
That's what they say, but we aren't stupid, are we, freaks and free thinkers? The lamestream media is busy fear-mongering and sensationalizing what they call news, Big Pharma's pumping out mellow pills to placate the nerves of an anxious public, and Hollywood cranks out billion-dollar budget escapism just for the unhappy millennials.
Oh, tubular thoughts. Oh, I guess I can't argue with that.
Well, then we know it has nothing to do with helping us find inner peace, because they're making bank off the miserable and stressed out. They'd be shooting themselves in the wallet.
But Big Pharma doesn't have anything to do with, for example, a sitcom showing people in yoga class. There's just no connection there, you know?
Oh, don't let's be silly. We all know how many commercials there are in a half-hour show pushing the latest miracle pill. I'm going to pretend you didn't even say that.
Well, I guess you are kind of right.
Of course I am. Now we ask ourselves, if this practice/concept they're pushing so hard really does what they say it does, if it's safe and free and harmless, what's in it for them? Beyond them, they're just a sales force. What's in it for the puppet master, for the serpent himself? Where is the lie?
Oh, I don't know, bro. That's why I called you.
The lie is that we can find peace in ourselves, that we can have true happiness and fulfillment outside of the loving God who created us. Meditation and yoga are not the doorways to peace beyond understanding, but they are the doorway to something else. I hope that gives you something to think about, Ned. Thanks for calling. Well, freaks and freethinkers, I hope all you surfer dudes and hippy-dippy types don't hate me now, and that you'll stay with us on this journey, exposing the grand conspiracy with me. Who knows what we'll discover along the way. Meanwhile, the same thought process I used to pick apart yoga culture can and should be applied to all the causes, concepts, practices, and programming that we invite into our lives, minds, and hearts on a daily basis via our screens, satellite radios, and social media feeds. Why do they want me to think that? Why do they want me to accept that? How does this play into the serpent's master plan? Look for the lie, because I guarantee you it's there. Behind the mask, we will see the serpent's eyes, if we have the strength to look. I promise you more on the Hollywood connection next time, freaks and freethinkers, but for now, for the record, Satan is alive and active in the world today. He is your mortal enemy with just one goal: to destroy you, body and soul. The good news is, we have a champion. His name is Jesus. Jesus is the only way to God, and the Bible is our only source for absolute truth. Together, they are our only hope for salvation. I'm Deep Amber, and this is Radio Ghost Town.
Thanks for watching. At Fly By Light Media, we choose freedom over comfort and truth over popularity, and we hope you will too.
You can buy cool tees and hoodies like this one in the link in the description, and always check out some more videos.
Together, we are Fly By Light Media, and we rise to shine.